well today. Look, Sandro Tonali, according to Graeme Bailey, he has agreed terms, but with a significant but on that as well. So we'll talk about Sandro Tonali yet again. Is this part of the United spin? Is this all part of their master plan? Contrary to what I was saying last night about United looking to do a certain amount of players. Now apparently it's come out today that United are looking to do 5 or 6. I don't see how. Look, I've had a couple of messages telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. United, I've got loads and loads of money. We're going to get £100 million for the Champions League. And look, I thought it would be an interesting one to go back over the numbers again, to go back over the amortization, to go back over FFP amortization, and all that good stuff. So look, guys, I hope we're all doing very well today. In the chat, like if you've never been in before, I'm JB, and look, get into this amazing community on this platform. I'm going to give my mate Nick a shout out as well, because he told me this morning that he watches the channel, and he didn't, and I didn't give him a mention. So big up to Nick, Spurs fan, sadly. And look, get into this community, best community on this platform. Look, we don't mind the banter, so get in there with the banter. If you go a bit too far, then the ban hammer does come out. We don't want to ban you, but we absolutely will if we've got to. Second of all, I am not a dictator of this chat. I do read out your comments, so please feel free to get in there. Cindy says join United. I'm a little bit too old. I think I'm a little bit too old to join, and a little bit too bad at playing football to join. So yeah, I think I'm probably past my prime in terms of trying to play football professionally. I'm a little bit too old, and not the best, to be honest with you. So look, I've had my day, but hopefully we're going to get some new youngsters through into the camp. So look, where are we going to start this journey today? So we're going to start with Sandro Tonali. Sandro Tonali has been on our list for quite some time, and it feels like the journalists are doing the rounds again. It feels like, we've got 2 games left. There's a World Cup around the corner, and it feels like there's this cylindrical transfer story. Baleba one day, Tonali another. I'm only talking about Tonali today because look, it is somebody has come out. Graeme Bailey has come out and said this, so I'm going to give you my opinion on it as well. Talks of the devil is in the house. Legend, hi JB, hello. Talks to the devil, Bobby. Hope you're doing extremely well. And then we'll get on to all of the stuff. Has Tonali signed? So look, let me give you the big but. So this is coming from Graeme Bailey at it is, well, let me tell you the outlet. I always get confused. It's called Team Talk. I nearly called it Talk Sport then. Now look, Graeme Bailey has come out with this. Tonali has agreed terms with United. Is not seen to be an issue. Look, agreeing terms with the player is one of the first things that you do. There's this misconception that you go to a club and you put down a load of money and you say to them, we want your player, and then you agree terms. You go and agree terms first. Just because you go and agree terms with a player doesn't mean that you're going to get the player. Now, we've agreed terms with Baleba, Ederson as well. Scott is on, legend of the chat as well. So look, we have agreed terms. Look, there was a story circulating at the beginning of, at the end of the window, whereby United were looking at this deal last year. Now, there are a couple of things where I think, if we are going to look at this tier 1 stuff, and we will talk about the tier 1, 2 and 3, because there is a but. Dino is in the house, legend as well. So according to Graeme Bailey of Team Talk, is that United have agreed terms. Tonali has got no problem with coming to the club. Now, the big but here, and as we all know, big buts, they don't lie, is that he wants to go to Italy. He wants to go back to AC Milan, Juventus. He wants to go back to Serie A. Now, the problem is that he's not going to be able to do that because the Italian clubs will not be able to afford. Now, how much is he going to cost? Now, Newcastle, the talk is they're going to want between 100. No, they're going to want about 80 for him. Now, is this a problem? As we've seen now, unlike some other channels out there, where we don't do a hotter meter, we don't do hot and cold meters, we do financial what's real, and we've done a couple of financial shows whereby we've gone through the numbers. Now, I've had messages today basically easy peasy. People today, I've had people cannot stand this channel, how much we've grown, and they cannot stand that we know the numbers. Messages I've had today, some vile stuff, basically telling me we've got 100 million quid and all this sort of stuff. And look, we do have the money there to do it, but whether we like this or not, if we spend this sort of money on this player, then look, it is going to financially impact us. So Finley says, I'm a Liverpool fan. Look, you don't need to apologise to be on this channel. Got no problem with rival fans coming onto this channel, my friend. Absolutely welcome, and get into the chat, because this is going to be a little bit of a hybrid show today. I'm not going to be back tonight. I didn't do a show this morning because basically work is just absolutely crazy, and my schedule is going to be a little bit up and down. So I'm gonna stream when I can. So the Tonali stuff, is there legs on this? Look, I don't want to force a player. I don't want to pay money for a player. The terms have been agreed. I do think the terms are agreed. I do think that we can get it done. So Julie says United are going to win the Champions League. Look, I would love to be able to predict that. We need these sorts of signings. If we are going to do that, and we'll talk about what United are talking about, 5 signings, we're going to need to do at least 6. RIP player says, yo, hello, my friend. Temskin says, Wilcox make Tonali, Matthias Fernandez, Baleba, Ederson, Oweho, Van der Ven, Lewis Hall, Lillman, Ndai to United is better for next season. So they've got to make a plan. I don't want him if he doesn't want to come. We only want players who want to join us and not just for the money. And look, I am... would you prefer a Ghana return? Now, again, these are good questions. Please get in your questions. I'm going to treat this like an evening show whereby we're going to talk about this, but please get in your questions so we can talk about it. Nice shirt, says the coach. Yes, this is a good old classic gold and white shirt as well. This is the reversible shirt. Do I think Tonali will sign? Now, we've got to be very, very careful. I think United are hedging their bets. I don't blame them for doing it. Now, do I think Tonali will sign? Now, and I'm going to say this, I do think we've agreed terms with an Anderson. I do think that we've agreed terms with all of these players, because that is the thing that you do, is you go to the player and you say, look, would you come to us? And they go, yeah, no, we'll offer you X, Y, and Z. And then they'll go, yes. Tommy says, hi. Hello, Tommy. When's the manager going to get announced? I think that's going to be relatively soon. It's Michael Carrick, and we will talk about. There are reports that Michael Carrick is actually going to get a decent contract as well. So we will come on to that. So please remind me at the end. I don't think Tonali will join. And as Scott says there, we want players who want to join. I love Tonali. I think Tonali at this club would be an orchestrator. He would be the conductor. He would be a fantastic player. 26, going to be in his prime. And Tonali, for me, would be a fantastic player. I've done a show on him, and we've looked at his stats. He is a fantastic player. I just think Tonali wants to go back home. I think if we was to sign this player, I think as soon as he starts to run the contract down, let's just say we give him a 5-year deal, he may want to push for a 4-year deal. I think when we get to the last 2 years of that contract, he's going to announce that he's not going to sign a new deal, because I think he will try to. I think he will try to push. By that point, if he was to sign, in 5 years' time, he's going to be 31. He can still. I think that sort of player could continue till he's 33 or 4. And my worry about him is that he doesn't want to come to the club. So, look, I think he would be happy to, but I think, as Scott says there, I don't mind players who don't support the club. I want a player who's excited to come. It just almost feels like it's a case of, I'll come if I've got to. Man City have called their interest on him. City, Anderson, they're going to go all in on him. So it almost feels like, to me, we would be Anderson's, not last resort, but we wouldn't be his first pick. Look, we've got the Champions League. We can now, get these players. The Geordies, sadly, which I don't think is fair, will have to sell players. I'm not saying that I want to necessarily think that they should do it, but I think that they're going to have to do it. If this player wants to come and he wants to join and he wants to be part of a future, then I would sign this player. So look, give me your opinions, and I want your views and opinions on this. Would you sign him, knowing that potentially, if you sign him on a 5-year deal, in maybe 3 years' time, he gets to the last 2 years of his contract and he's not going to sign a deal, and then he'll go to Italy, maybe on free, or maybe he goes on the cheap, but he wants to go back home. So, we've got the Premier League. He is a fantastic player. He's going to be expensive, as we've seen with the amortization. And I do want to talk about that as well. Look, the amortization will be relatively big. But it's something that we can do. Will it impact the rest of the window? 80 million and 200k a week. He's probably going to want that as well. So it is a big outlay. Would you outlay a big amortization cost on a player that doesn't really necessarily want to be here? I'm not saying that he's not going to play for the club, but would you really want a player who's not going to give maybe 100% for the club and who's got one eye about going home? So also the gambling stuff for me is an issue as well. Maybe he's got over that, maybe he's got help, and maybe he's got clear of that one. But for me, I do think that is a bit of a shadow as well. So there are some red flags for me, but do the green flags outweigh the risk for this player? So let me get through your chats. Let me see what we're saying, and then we'll go through it. I don't want him, if he doesn't want to come, says Scott. We need Tonali. Would I prefer a Ghana return? Now, Ghana, so we are talking about tier 1, 2, and 3. Interestingly enough, today, the communication is really funny. Because last night, when we were talking about this, we spoke about how United was saying that they're going to go for a tier 1, 2, and 3. And I was saying to you that we're probably going to look at 2. And what's coming out today is United went 3, but there's always a big but, is that we're going to look to do 2, and then if we can afford another one, we'll get another one. So you're already starting to see that, oh, we want 5 players, we want 3 players, but if we've got enough money at the back end of the window, maybe we can look to do that deal. Now, the Ghana thing for me, I like Ghana, but we sold him for, what was it, 12.5, 13 million quid? They're going to want 30 to 40 million, probably 35 to 45. I can't sign him back based on that. We can't give away a player for 12.5 million and then sign him back for 30 to 40. Look, if we could sign him back for 20, 22 million, then Ghana, fine. I've got no issue with that at all. But we can't sign him back for 50 million. It would be ridiculous. But I like the player, just not at that price. Arsenal going to bottle the title. Possibly the cadet says, I'd love Tonali. My worry is we will have Baleba and Manu in the midfield next season, and I don't think it will be good enough. And I agree with you. Baleba, I like Baleba. On this channel, I've been singing his praises. I still think that his defensive attributes are elite. I think if he comes here, I think he'll be a fantastic player. But he can't be the main signing. He can't be the main signing. He's got to be the interim signing. You know, at 70 million, 65 to 70 million, he would be the tier 1 signing. We can't have that. You know, I like him. He can't be the tier 1. He just can't be. So I agree with that. When's a manager going to get announced? We'll see. Tommy Inland says, hi. Newcastle will put somewhere around 100 for Tonali. I know we need a left back, but what do you think about Keane, Lewis, Potter from Brentford? I don't mind. Look, I don't mind. I don't mind. Maximilian says, where does your accent come from? My accent is English, I guess. I'm from South, so it's an English accent, I guess. Look, I don't mind. I think the left back situation, I think as long as we've got a decent options, which I do think there are out there, Lewis Hall potentially, but anything from a Brentford, I don't mind that either. Heard Tonali went Italy. Exactly that. We are in Champions League next season. We can attract better quality players in the summer. Tonali won't leave despite Newcastle having a stinker lately. Tonali going to go back to Serie A. Now, the problem is, Finley says hi again, the problem is Serie A cannot afford him. The Italian league cannot afford him. They can't. This is why Italy are letting Leao go. So AC are letting Leao go for, it was 60 million. It could possibly drop to 50, 55 million because they can't command that price and they can't buy players. Ederson is going to go for 39 million. We've agreed that deal. I think that deal will happen, and they can't afford it. They can't afford 80 million plus 250k a week. So unless there can be some sort of investment or some sort of deal done, Tonali wants to go back, but Tonali is not going to have an option in my view because the Italian clubs cannot afford it. What do you think about, yeah, I've done that one. So I agree. I read some of Tonali's being homesick. Merpa says, nice fit, JB. What's on the table? But mate, there's water. There's all sorts, mate. There's all sorts. Do you think we could get Szoboszlai? No. No. Szoboszlai, no, not a chance. I think he's a fantastic player. We have a slight chance at Valverde. Madrid looking to sell him. Wait, JB, where is the beard? The beard's gone. The beard fell off completely. The beard has gone. Valverde. So look, guys. This is good. This is a bit of a hybrid show. Normally, the late shows are where you guys, I'll give you your more so your views. It is your show. I'm not going to do it tonight. So look, get in there with your chat. Let me know what you've heard on the street. I want to know your opinions on Carrick again. I want to know your opinions on Real Madrid players. I want to know your opinions on Tonali. The story coming out today is that we have agreed terms. We have agreed terms. Cursed without the beers as JB. Sell Mbumo to the Geordies. Would you sell Mbumo? Giving us to sign the players we don't trust. Love your vids. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I've heard that Barcelona will not sign Rashford. We still sell Rashford, but to who? Now, I think there are loads of reports out there. Arsenal are looking at him. Bayern Munich, Aston Villa. I think Barcelona, they're trying to have their cake and eat it, which is their prerogative to do. I don't like how they operate, but if they can get something for a cheap deal, the problem is that they want to do a deal over 3 years. They want to give us 8 million this year, 10 million next year, blah 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 blah. Rashford is not coming back. Rashford is going to go. Rashford wants to go. So I think it could be somewhere like a Bayern Munich. I think it could be somewhere like an Arsenal. Arsenal are in there. Aston Villa. So I don't think there's going to be any shortage of places for him to go. He's got back into England. He's scoring goals. He's played in the Champions League. He's proved himself. As Tommy says, as a Newcastle fan, I don't think we're letting any players go unless they want to. The potential this team has with the likes of Lewis Hall. Now, Tommy, again, massive respect to the Geordies. I will always give you guys respect. Now, look, I'm not saying that Newcastle have to sell because they're a small club. Right, I'm not suggesting that. I'm not saying that you guys want to sell. Newcastle might have to. And I think this is the thing, Tommy. I don't like it. I am not a fan of it at all. I think it's wrong. I think the likes of Aston Villa, Geordies, having to sell their players because of the squad cap rules, I don't agree with it. Tommy, I think Newcastle are going to be forced to sell players. I don't think they've got a choice, Tommy. I don't agree with it. If people want your players, I think it's a compliment. And you will charge the prices that you want to charge. But I think you probably are going to have to sell the odd player. Now, look, are you going to have to sell all of your best players? No. But I think you will have to sell a player to balance the book. But Tommy, look, I am not the biggest fan of that. I'm not. Look, Tonali, I would love him. And that's a compliment to what you've done with him. It's a compliment to the fact that you don't want to sell the player. Look, is it going to be would it be an easy deal to do? No. But I think you guys might have to sell players. I do. Scottish selling in Burmo. Rashford wouldn't even start at Arsenal. I think he wants guaranteed football. Arsenal plays Scott's Lion. What do you think of Keane Lewis Potter? I've already done that one. Tonali is in the Mafia. Tonali does look like a Mafia dude, doesn't he? When he did get back, though, he was welcomed, and I think he's out of the mindset. And good. And the one thing, look, I will say this: what Newcastle did as well for him, loyalty-wise, I think it's fantastic. Look, I don't think we're going to get that deal done. I just don't think that we're going to get it done. Look, the terms are agreed. I think we've agreed terms with him and Anderson, but it doesn't mean he's going to come. So what is going to happen now is that you are going to see spin. You are going to see a ton of spin. What do you think about? Yeah, I've done that one. I've already done that one. We should have won this Prem. We should have won this Prem, the worst Prem in Premier League history. I'm not sure we should have won the Premier League. I'm not sure. Um, could we have won the Premier League? I mean, if we'd have won the Premier League from where we were, it would have probably been the worst league. I think this is probably one of the worst Premier League seasons we've had. You could argue ever. With hindsight, could we have won it? I mean, I'm not sure that I agree with that one. Andrew says, yeah, because we didn't pay that much to resign Pogba. Look, I am not. Look, I do not want to sign. And Andrew makes a good point. You know, I don't want to sign players again. We give away Ghana for 12.5 million. Would you resign him? And again, as this is your show tonight, today we're taking a little bit of a different spin on it. Would you re-sign Ghana? Would you re-sign him for 50 million? Exactly, Ghana would be like a Pogba. Ray says, what a signing Tonali would be. We have a good history of getting players from Newcastle. I'm not getting into that. I mean, come on, Ashton. I mean, what? Come on, mate. Come on. You have been doing that all. Yeah. Hot take: if Chelsea, Liverpool, United, and City were firing on all cylinders, no way this Arsenal team would be anywhere near the top three. Never mind the title. Well, Ray, I mean, we're not firing because we don't have the players. Chelsea don't have the players. Liverpool have the. I think where I would say I agree, Ray, and again, I'm not saying your opinion is wrong. Where I would say that I agree and where I don't agree on that, I would say Liverpool, yes, I think Liverpool have the players. City, yes, City have the players. Mate, we've been nowhere near. Look, we may have finished second in the league, we may have finished third. We've been nowhere near a league title for 13 years. If we are firing on all cylinders now. This is who we are. So I don't agree with us. Chelsea, I disagree with them as well because I think that they've spent billions of pounds on a bag of crap. So I would say Liverpool, if they were firing, City were firing, I don't think Arsenal gets anywhere near the league. What's the prices, Moss? So the touted price is around 80 million quid. If it was your 300 mil, who would you sign? So look, if I was 300 million, I would probably go. I would go to Ameni for 70 because I think he'd be 70. But we've got to be careful with 300 million. We've got to be careful. We've got to be careful because it's not just the 300 in terms of the transfer fees. It is the amortization. I would probably sign two mainly for 70. I would probably look at Fernandez, hope to get him for 50, so that's 120. I would probably then go and look at a left back. So, maybe somebody like a Lewis Hall. I don't know what that would be. That would probably be in and around 50. I'm hoping so that's 170 million. I'd then probably go and look at another midfielder. I think we need three in the midfield. Probably Baleba, maybe for 60. So what's that? 230. I think we need a striker. I'd go and get Kane. I would go and get Kane for 60. So what's that? 290. So I think that is kind of what I would look to do. I think we need Kane. Left-sided, look, I think we're fine, but I would probably go Kane to Amini. I'd probably go Matthias Fernandez, Baleba, Lewis Hall, maybe Lewis Skelly potentially as well. I think I'd probably go down those lines. I mean, look, Ashton, all I'm going to say to you is this. Tuameni, if you just listen to the players that I've just said to you that I want, the players that I would choose would be Tuameni, Carlos Baleba, Fernandez. Tchouaméni's French. Matheus Fernandes is Portuguese. Baleba, is he Ghanaian? So Ashton, look, I'm only telling you, my friend, the players that we've been linked to. So if you want to make it an issue about that, my friends, Mbappe is not going to come. The reason why I don't mention those players is because Elise is never going to come. Dembele is never going to come. Mbappe is never going to come, Ashton. So, if you want to make it some sort of issue, that's up to you. But if you just listen to the players that I said that I would buy, you should get your answer. Swap Rashford for Leao. Crackjack says, hi, have we agreed terms? Look, no, we have agreed terms. That we have agreed terms. That the terms are agreed. It's just whether or not we're going to push the button. We've got to sell to buy. We've got to sell players to buy. We've got to bring the amortization down. The reason why we're not pulling the trigger yet is because we've got to wait for the financial year to end. So we've lined up these deals. We've lined them all up. We know roughly what we're going to pay. We can't pull the trigger until the year end is up. So we've probably got about another month until we can get the deal done in principle. But we've got to wait until the financial year because look, we owe 268. We do. Barca have other targets. Rashford is not the priority, and hope Rash will push for the move. They've had Rashford for long enough. AC Milan swap deal. It's great to finally be here, says Henderson. We'll sell Rashford to AC, then Barliao, can't spell his name. Leao, look, apparently his attitude is bad. We've had some AC Milan fans on here, and his attitude is bad. I don't want Leao. I don't mind the talent. It's the person. From what I've heard, I don't necessarily like the person. I've heard he's an arrogant player. Tchouaméni for me would be the one. Monday, I think he's going to be very, very expensive as well. Miss Life says Newcastle have no European football next season. They need to sell. Eddie Howe has several players that would fit exactly. So Daniel says, because new kit coming, top signing, just spin to do this every year. Exactly that. Spicy Chicken Wings is in the house. Hope you're doing extremely well, my friend. I hope Rashford goes to Barcelona. Loved him in his early days. Barcelona suits him. Sabrino G and Anthony Gordon, several players, but this season we swap places. Danny is in the house, absolute legend as well. Bruno G, I like Bruno G. I think he'll be very, very expensive for his age, and I'm not ageist. I've just been accused of being other ists. I'm not ageist. I just think I think for the money that we're going to want, I think it's going to be a very, very expensive thing to do. Anthony Gordon looks like he's going to Bayern Munich. That's what I've read. If Binder didn't play the first 5 games, might be the worst Prem in a while, but we were still undeserving to win it. Hit the like button exactly. Costs absolutely nothing. Is Bizly spending money on to sign it? Don't know. Oscar says hi. Hello, Oscar. Swings and roundabouts. Would you like to have Anderson? Look, Oscar, I like him. I like Anderson. I really, really like him. I think he's... Now, what I'm about to say, and I mean this in an overall way. I'm not saying that he is, but he reminds me of a Stevie G type of signing. And I'm not saying that he is a Stevie G. I'm not saying he's close to a Stevie G. What I'm saying is I think he's the all-round midfielder that Stevie G was, that sort of player who was, he could be defensive, he could be offensive. You put him in any team and he's going to shine. I think Anderson is that type of player. Do I think he's as good as Stevie G or could ever be as good as him. Probably not. But in the modern day, he just reminds me of that sort of all-round player who's very good at most stuff. Do I think he's worth 120 million? I'd find it hard to justify it. Do I think he's worth 100? I don't know. In today's market, I think you could argue he probably is, but I don't think that we should probably be doing that. Liverpool made the signings are worse than last season. If Arsenal win it, sour grapes if we moan. Look, I think this is where I'm at with Arsenal. Right, this is my stance. I know other people don't share the same stance as me. They really dislike Arsenal. I know some good Arsenal fans. I don't have a problem with Arsenal winning the league. My problem is with AFTV. My problem is with those fans. My problem is with fans who act like they would do this every single season. I would not begrudge Arsenal a title. I just begrudge the attitude. And I'm not talking about every single Arsenal fan, and I don't think they are representative necessarily of all Arsenal fans, but some of those takes on there. I mean, if they win the league, I mean, forget about it, because they will just be all-consuming, and I think they turn people off. Harry Kane would be a mad. So I love Kane. I think he'd be fantastic. I'm 34. Yep. Where are we at with the Bruno G signing? But again, look, we've looked at him. It's gone really quiet. I think Bruno G would be the signing that we do if we panic. I think I could see us doing a Bruno G when we get to the back end of the window. We've signed 0 players. People have backed out of the deal, and we've got to go sign a big midfielder. And I could see us doing a panic buy on him for 90 million. I can. Us Junior should be looked at. Mbappe has an ego problem, and United have already too many of those. And stupid wages, yes. Glory, United, says Rakanba. Jerry says, my girlfriend working in an estate agent told me ages ago Tonali was heading to the northwest to United. Now I'm probably having to listen to I Told You So all summer. So you were 7 in 99. I'm guessing that's the Scott. Well, you missed a lot of Fergie time. Maybe you remember 08, but sour grapes if you can't Arsenal win. Liam says, sweaty farts are like that boy who cried wolf. You think it's sweat to wonder. Well, Liam, I guess so, mate. I guess so. Scott, you support, yes, Henderson, he's no Stevie G. Now, look, I'm not saying he is Stevie G. What I mean is he just reminds me of more of that all-round, and maybe it's just because of the way he's built. He just reminds me of the all-round player. He's no Stevie G. I'm not saying that he's even close to Stevie G. He just reminds me of that type of player, though. Off topic, JB, but can we look into Greenwood as much as you hate looking into ex-players? Now, look, we can talk. Look, we can do it. Milton says, sorry, I'm late. Now, look, the Greenwood stuff, look, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because he's not coming back. I know people want the Greenwood saga to continue, and look, Greenwood, we don't shy away. Greenwood, look, this is your show. We will go where you guys want to talk about. The Greenwood stuff, look, we're not going to hide away from it on this channel. Look, innocent in the eyes of the law, whether we like it, whether people like it, whether supporters, whether the Greenwood supporters enjoy it or not, he's not going to come back. Innocent in the eyes of the law. again, whether this is right or wrong, the court of public opinion will always win. From my perspective, I just hope he's learnt. I'm not going to pass an opinion on it. I'd be uncomfortable if he came back. Look, there's no doubt the talent is there. There is no doubt the talent is there. I think for him, for his career, I would stay away from the Premier League. I just don't think it's worth his mental health. He's clearly, I'm not going to go in the ins and outs. I'm not doubting the talent. I'm not going to doubt it from a football perspective, but I think from a personal perspective, from a brand perspective, you've got to look at the world in which we live in now. You got to look at United's sponsors, their brand deals, women's team. You've got to look at all of that stuff, and Greenwood will not be allowed to come anywhere near this team, rightly or wrongly in some people's eyes. People are going to have their opinions on it, but Greenwood, for me, I'd feel uncomfortable if he came back to the club. If you don't, then I've got no issue with that. But I think the Greenwood stuff, look, he's been and gone, and he's had his time. He's had his time. JB, stop yapping about Arsenal, bro. They're crap. Look, mate. You guys can talk about them. That Ty off AFTV is a muppet. I mean, Ty he's an idiot. Have you seen Rice dragging someone onto the ground? Saliba on the ground. Yeah, I saw that. Kane might be too expensive for his age. He's a risk. He is a risk. And I am a bit of a hypocrite on this one. I talk about the Bruno G being too old at that price. There's something about Harry Kane. I think Harry Kane for me would bring something different. Look, I can't argue. I think he would be a massive risk, but I think for me that's a risk that I would be prepared to take, and I would own the risk. I would own it. I'd own it. Ariola, please, can't watch Carrick crap football. He'd be exposed. We will talk about it, because again, as we've been talking about on this channel, I've told you weeks and weeks ago. I've got told weeks and weeks ago that Michael Carrick is going to go in and get the job. It looks like he's going to be offered a big contract. Nico says it's old news. No, it's not. It's not old news. This has come out today. Tonali news has come out today from Graeme Bailey. Victor says only the Gala. If we sell Xerxes, Ugarte, Mount, we need 8 players in at least, but I can see INEOS only bringing 5 max. That won't be enough for next season. Big Dog, I would love to get 5 players. Mason Mount ain't going anywhere. Nobody signing Mount. Look, I am the staunchest INEOS, I will criticise them. If INEOS get rid of Xerxes, Ugarte, Mason Mount, whatever other players need to go, and then bring in at least 5 or 6, bring in Tchouaméni, or bring in a Tonali, bring in a Fernandez, bring in some good quality players. You can sit there and tell me, I told you so. I've got no problem in that. This is all spin. Mason Mount. Mason Mount's got 2 years left on his deal. Who's going to sign him? Who's going to sign Mason Mount for 250k? Mason Mount, I don't blame him. It's not his fault. But he's sat on 250k. He's got the number 7 shirt. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere at all. Surely he's gone for a long time now. Greenwood, yet. All those who have left should not be allowed to return. Greenwood could be a good signing, but baggage might be a bit. He's gone. Scott says Spurs want to pay 45 for Greenwood. I think that would have been an interesting signing. for me. No to Kane, great player, but the ship sailed. Xerxes, Mount, Shaw, Ugarte, Dallo all need to go. Milton, I don't disagree with you. I think they need to go. I do. Luke Shaw's got 1 year left on his deal. I'm hearing that they're going to think about giving Luke Shaw another year. Xerxes, I think, will go. Ugarte, I think he'll get loaned out. Dallo is going to stay. I think the majority of these players are going to stay. Are we seeing Mount in any form anytime soon? He's got to be fit first, Merper. The problem is that the problem is he's got an injury to his hip that can end his career at any point. There is nobody going to sign him. Mason Mount needs to have an operation, but the problem is operation could end his career. Mason Mount is done. Mason Mount is not going to have, he's not going to be playing 30 games a season. He'll probably be lucky to play 10. I'm hoping, look, if it can happen to Luke Shaw, if it can happen to a Luke Shaw, whether or not we think he's good, if it can happen to a Luke Shaw and he can come back, can Mason Mount come back and get away from his injury? I don't think he can. Mason Mount is managed. His minutes are managed. Mason Mount has been back for a month and a half, and we've seen him play once. We've seen him start once. Mount has been back for the last 2 months, and he has been he's started one game. Iron Fist Merpert says, but I think Luke Shaw picks himself up. Look, I admire Luke Shaw this season. I do. The fact he's got into the provisional World Cup squad speaks a lot. I just think that Luke Shaw's injuries have caught up with him. Scott says Mount, Rashford, Onana, Shaw, Dallo, Xerxes, Malacia need to leave. I don't disagree with that, mate. United should sign Ederson and Fernandez. Mount is always injured and doesn't play much. The Ederson deal is done. We should sign Delap. No, 100% not. Delap for me, 100% not. We need a proper striker. We need a proper striker. We need a proper striker. Should we sign a left back? Truffett, this guy is young and his Satchel staying. Yes, so we did. Iron Fist, we spoke about Truffett. We've been linked to him again. I like Truffett. I really, really like him. Youngish. His stats are brilliant. I think he'd be a cheaper alternative to Lewis Hall. I really, really like Truffett. Brentford would probably want 50 million. 45 to 50. Are we going to spend that? What about Thiago? Thiago for me is a bit of a weird one. Because if you watch him play, anytime I've watched him play, he doesn't look great. He's very uncomfortable on the eye. He doesn't look to me like he's what's the word? He doesn't look like I just don't think he looks good. But he has scored 21 or 2 goals this season. He's a powerhouse. He's an absolute powerhouse. If you looked at how he played against us, he couldn't finish his dinner. But what he did do was he did power through our back four. I mean, that's not hard, is it? He's going to be expensive. He's going to be 65 to 70 million. And I'm not sure. I'd much rather Kane at 55 to 60 million. Very, very expensive. But I think Kane would add more than that. He's a young guy. Thiago, for me, has all of the hallmarks of you go and sign him, and then you then have a £70 million donkey on your hands. Yeah, Would you sign Chalobah? I don't know. I've not seen him play for a while. I mean, I'd be my initial reaction to that would be hell no. But I mean, look, we need numbers. We need numbers. Igor, Thiago, yes. We should sign some experienced striker like Lua, or we could sign Sarloff. Now, Iron Fists, Sarloff is a big no for me. I watched him play against an Arsenal. No, absolutely not. Lua, yes. Lewandowski, yes. I wouldn't mind that. Rangers or Celtic, I don't have any dog in that fight. You know, Rangers were always the team that when I was a kid always won the league. It was always between those two. I mean, I don't really have a dog in the fight. Celtic, I think probably are the better team now. I just don't have a dog in the fight. I can't pick because I just don't have any affiliation. Murphy says Kane over Thiago is insane if you're looking from a long term. But the thing is, I'm not looking at it from a long term. I'm not looking at it from the long term in terms of I'm looking at Šeško is the long term. For me, Šeško is the striker. In the short term, we need probably at least two strikers. Harry Kane, for me, represents the long term for Šeško. You could bring in Kane and have Kane for 3 years. The impact that Harry Kane would have on this team, the mentality-wise, the impact he would have on Obi, the impact that he would have on a Šeško, I think he would be worth every penny. I think Šeško is the future. And I think if you bring in Harry Kane, I think the impact in the short term on the Champions League, the impact on Šeško, I think would be immeasurable. And I think having Harry Kane around the youngsters as well. So for me, that's the reason why, not the long term. I just think the things he brings you as a captain, the things he brings you as a mentality, the elite mentality, the talent is there. I still think he's got a lot to offer. For me, it's more about the impact of him for 3 years, I think would be absolutely huge. Quality over the quantity, says Hussein. Bring Welbeck home. I'm not opposed to Welbeck. I'm not opposed to him on a free. Tonali is the steadiest of Eddies. We will go for him if we don't land one of the big boys. Mbappe, says Aaron. What about Lewis Open? What from Leipzig? I'd have to check him out. Lewis the Inspector. I think we should push for Steeler to Ameni. I think Steeler is going to go to Real Madrid. To Ameni is the one that I'd push for. I would push for that. There is no way Šeško accepts a bench role behind Kane for 3 years. That ruins his career. He ain't going to help him. So Šeško to play every game. Look, we need two strikers. We need two strikers. Look, it is a difficult thing to do. I don't disagree with you, but we need two strikers. Whether or not that's a Kane, we need two strikers, and we need somebody to help out a Šeško 100%. Do you mean Šeško learning his trade? Yeah. I mean, for me, you bring in Harry Kane because I think you've got to. I think you've got to bring in somebody like that. I do. Edit says, I'm gay. What does it matter? What does it matter? If I was gay, Who cares? Does that edits? Would it make my opinion invalid if I was gay? That's the question. I think, mate, I think that says more about you than it does about me, to be fair. Mateta, I do like Mateta. I do. Steeler doesn't have physicality. He will just get shoved away. Camavinga isn't in the conversation. No, Camavinga, I don't believe he is in the conversation. Too many is good, to be fair. Gala wants Ugarte. Take him. I will drive Ugarte there for you. If you want Ugarte, I will drive Ugarte there. He's a fantastic player. Any Turkish teams around, any Italian teams, Ugarte is a fantastic player. I think he's going to be the next best thing. He's cheap. His wages, I think they're reasonably cheap. Ugarte is going to be a star. So all I'm going to say to you is, look, I'd feel gutted if Ugarte left. So Galatasaray, I sadly say, please don't take Ugarte. Please don't get him, because he's such a great player. But if you do get Ugarte, then I'm going to be sad. So look, you'd be getting yourself a wonderful player there. So I would say go for Ugarte. He's a great player. We should get Ivan Toney, in my opinion, someone who can play the role, but Pushesco, Tony's wages are high. That's my only thing with Toney. His wages are going to be ridiculously high, but I like Ivan Toney as well, so I think that's a good shout. Matthias Fernandez, Gomez, Ederson from Atalanta. Iron Fist, Gomez looks like he's going to Atletico Madrid. It looks like he's going to go there because Ederson has been priced out of a deal. It looks like we've hijacked the deal. Ederson, I'm convinced Ederson is coming to us. Camavinga was better than Tuamini. Yeah. Manu will sell him. Yeah. Look. Ugarte. Look. Maybe. I mean, I think you'd probably have to put in a big bid. I think if you offered 60 million, I think if you offered 60 million quid, as much as I think that's cheap, I think Ugarte, I'd be very, very sad if he left. But if you're telling me that Galatasaray would like him, yeah, I'll be sad. I'll be devastated. Ugarte is one of my favourite players. So yeah, I think we would sell, but you're gonna have to give us a big bid. But I would be reluctant to sell him. I think he's a great player. Mati Fernandez, the only midfielder I want, 40 to 50 from West Ham. Obviously, Fernandez. Ugarte is not Milton. Ugarte is great. So Milton. Ugarte is a fantastic player. Got somebody trying to buy him, mate. Ugarte, we all love Ugarte. Let's we all rate him. So Milton, shut up. So yeah, people used to stay in clubs for a long time. Yes, we should raid West Ham for Fernandez, Juff, and Somerville. I don't want too many players from the Hammers. I don't want the Hammers to go down. I've got a soft spot for them. I don't want the Hammers to go down. I would go for Fernandez, Juff. I'm not sure about him. Somerville, maybe. Ederson will be helpful. He covers so much distance and his heat map is insane. Man in the North says Ugarte has to go to bring in Tonali and the backup and promote somebody from the youth. Look, Ugarte has to go, but he has to go because he's so good. Galatasaray want to buy him. So, Ugarte is really, really good. And, we've got to sell him, because he's got to go. But I would be sad. I think Tonali is probably the worst player. But if Ugarte has to go, then Tonali, all right. Okay then. Ederson is so dumb. Another midfielder who struggles on the ball. He's better than Ugarte, but the same thing. I'm rubbish at football, but would play each game for a fiver. What of West Ham? Ederson struggles to get in the Brazil team. They can't even talk. Ederson struggles to get in Brazil, and they got washed. Fabinho in there. Why are we still going to go for Somerville after the Champions League? It's Barcola or Leao. We're not going to go for Somerville. I don't think that we are. They'll be fine. These players will most likely ask to leave for themselves. Tonali isn't even a 6. I mean, Grace legend is in the house as well. I think we want Tonali as the all-round deep line playmaker. I don't know what that does for the pivot. I don't know what it does for that. Now, Grace, I mean, if it was up to me, I would probably go for Tchouaméni because I want somebody who's more defensive. Ederson runs to get onto the ball. He chases after the ball. I think it's Ederson is going to be one. Who the other one is, I don't know. Ederson can't be the main signing. Baleba can't be the main signing. I don't mind them as second or third, but we've got to get that elite signing player. So we'll see where we are when it comes to all that. Tony says, what football club do you support? United. All right. 2 seconds. Yeah, 2 seconds. Honestly. Tiny's defensive stats aren't even that good. We've got 2 remaining. What football club? United. PSG are going to go for Alvarez and the Mondays, one of their wingers. I agree. So look, guys, as you've heard, I've been called. It's been an hour. Absolute ridiculous. So look, guys, I won't be back tonight. I don't plan to be back tonight. Well, I just don't plan to be back tonight. But look, guys, thank you for watching. As you've heard there, I've been an hour, and yeah, I've got to go. I've been summoned. So look, guys, you are legends. Thank you so much for being here. Legends of the channel, legends of the chat. I'm going to go off and have a domestic. I'm going to go off and tell. No, I'm not going to go off and tell her. But look, I will be back. I won't be back tonight. I might be, but I probably won't be. But look, legend, appreciate the chat. Appreciate you guys being here with me as well. Fantastic show. An hour goes really, really quickly. But look, guys, get into the chat after the show as well. And yeah, I will see you guys soon. I might be back this evening, maybe, potentially. But look, have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel. And I'm going off to have a domestic. See you guys later. Take care.